So yeah, I just felt convicted of sharing my testimony actually about a year ago, and never really had the chance or the time that I should do it, and recently been convicted, especially with these times we're going through, and I think that it can relate to things we're going through today. Some of the verses and passages God's led me to that have a lot to do with my testimony, so I'm just going to start with my testimony and go from there. And so to start with, I'm just going to read some scripture. And Revelations 12:11 says, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death." And I just think it's important for us to share our testimonies and encourage each other, and I think we can really uplift our brethren and sisters with our testimonies and with each other's. So then I'm going to go over to Romans chapter 12, verse 2, which I think is a good verse to just kind of establish the theme for my testimony and for what I want to say today. "And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." So anyway, I was saved young, and as probably like 6 or 7, I really believe, and I really was following God. Really had a passion to learn His Word, and growing up in a Baptist church, Sunday church, Wednesday Bible study, and then youth groups as a teen, door-to-door evangelizing, all that kind of stuff, missions trips, and really wanted to follow God. So I don't have a powerful testimony of when I was saved, really, but sin is a really dangerous thing that we don't want to mess around with. So the Bible talks so much about sin and whatnot. I mean, no, we're not perfect, and that's why we need Jesus, but so as I was homeschooled too, and Bible study every day, so I was kind of goody two-shoe church kid, all that kind of thing, but one little sin started just a dangerous road of compromise a little bit, and then a little bit more, and so the big one was pornography. To start getting into that and compromising with that, a little bit here, a little bit there, and eventually you compromise more on other things. And as an older teen, I kind of as a church kid, I wanted to be cool, wanted to hang out with the cool kids, and never drank in high school, never did drugs, none of that. But once I was 18, I started to party when I could get the chance to, and just more and more compromise, and first alcohol here and there and things, and then with work and just, I don't know, I guess being curious about the world because somewhat sheltered, it just led to just more and more of a what's the word for it? Backsliding, and led to more and more of backsliding and compromising with my faith. So anyway, I ended up in college, got more into smoking weed, and and then girlfriend, breaking up with her, got more depressed, more into smoking weed, eventually more drugs, and more curiosity of just what the world's like. And eventually, was questioning the Bible more because I didn't want to think the Bible was 100% true necessarily, because when you're compromising to that extent, you just, you know what I mean? You don't want the Bible to be like 100% true, because it's gonna convict you. So, eventually that led to curiosity, more trying to find out what the world's about through different ways, just a lot. I mean, not all bad, but I mean, just a lot of curiosity and looking into other religions, looking into, even getting into harder drugs like hallucinogens, mushrooms, that kind of thing, and just curiosity, just exploring and experiencing and figuring out what the world's all about and stuff, which I wouldn't condone doing any of that. I wish I would have just realized the Bible was true to begin with and not done those things, because it can be hard to come back. So eventually went to school for TV and video. But I mean, even then, as I was backsliding and things, I still believed the Bible was true mostly, and but just a lot of compromise, and I still, even then, I knew that media and the news and things like that did a lot of manipulation, and I didn't really want to get into news because I didn't want to be part of propaganda. So I mean, I discerned some of that even back then in college, and anyway, that'll tie in more later on. So eventually, so I didn't really get a career in where I want to go. There's a lot of places I could go with it, but I want to try and keep this kind of short. Anyway, led me out. Eventually, I went out to California and Hollywood, and spent about a month trying to get into Hollywood, get a job there, with my TV and video degree, and because that was my passion, entertainment or journalism or something with the camera and with storytelling, that kind of thing, and thank God, I think he was protecting me. I think he knew that would be a bad place for me to get a job, and looking back, I'm really glad after putting all these resumes in and walking around Hollywood trying to meet people. I mean, I had a few opportunities, auditioning, things like the People's Court, stuff like that. But being there is just like, there was definitely a darkness, a presence that you could feel. There was a lot of depression, lots of homelessness, lots of shattered dreams, and I don't know. Back then I was still kind of naive and didn't really understand what it was, but it was there. Just like Vegas, went there too for a couple days, but so then I got a job at the ski hills, snowboard, and lived out in Colorado for almost a year. Did a lot of partying out there, and the thing is, when you're doing that lifestyle of doing a lot of drugs and, weed, I mean, not hard drugs, but either way, around those people, trying to buy them, that kind of thing, you get a lot of dishonesty and a lot of, you just see a lot of darkness, people's relationships. You see people cheating on each other, and just the darkness of Hollywood, all these different things, and you just go, these things of the world aren't fulfilling. I mean, luckily I grew up with the Christian background I talked about, and I thank God for that, and for all the Bible knowledge I gained back then, and that I could go back to, and that I saw it so that I could contrast it and go, this way of the world isn't fulfilling, it's not right, it's not truth. And I look back, I'm like, where were the good marriages? Where were the good relationships? The happiness, the good was in, the church. It wasn't all perfect, but that was where the truth was. People that really believed the Bible and wanted to follow God and obey God. And that was the truth. And that's why Jesus says He's the truth, the way, and life. So that at least started my road back. And I came home, and but I still had a lot of things, drinking and weed. Thank God, nothing too hard, but a lot of things to get over and overcome. Cigarettes, got that habit out in California. But praise God, He works with you, and He's patient, and He delivers you from things if you let Him, and if you really seek Him. And it took some time, but what really was another turning point was, I started getting curious about, okay, what is this evil and different things. Just curious about the world, and started searching a lot on YouTube and different places and things, and I came across this YouTube video of the 2014 Grammys, and it was who was it? Katy Perry sang the song "Dark Horse," and which I'm actually gonna play the clip. Knew you were gonna come to me, and here you are, but you better choose carefully, 'cause I'm capable of anything and everything. Make me your Aphrodite, make me your one and only, but don't make me your enemy. So you want to play with magic, this is the chorus. Boy, you should know what you've fallen for. Baby, do you dare to do this? 'Cause I'm coming at you like a dark horse. And notice that on her shirt there, or whatever you want, there's a red cross. I mean, this is pretty satanic, I would say. Are you ready for a perfect storm? A perfect storm. 'Cause once you're mine, there's no going back. Mark my words, this love will make you levitate, like a bird without a cage. Officiates a marriage between 34 couples, but a lot of them are gay. And they play this song about homosexuals, and it's in front, and the background is basically a church, and it's kind of being drawn out. It's kind of developing as the song develops. The background is basically a church setting, and it's just a mockery of God and His laws, I think. And then they bring him out. It's just, I mean, this is the things of the world. And it goes from that dark, some kind of witch, satanic ritual, to then this mockery of the church. And there you have it. So that 2014 Grammys video, it was very eye-opening, and just it actually made me sick to my stomach, and just realized that this isn't just somebody's twisted art. This is evil. and this is evil. And that just got me more curious, like, what's going on here? And all the symbolism in Hollywood and in movies and music, and then to realize how much of it ties to the occult, how much of it is actually satanic, and these people are for real. These people are for real. You know, figured out the meaning of Hollywood. Actually, Hollywood is a type of tree, and that's what the druids, the magicians, wizards and whatnot would, way back, you know, for hundreds of years, that was like the preferred. I mean, they make it from different things, but Hollywood was the preferred type of wood that they would make their magic wands out of. You know, and Hollywood is just putting a spell on all of us. Because, I mean, and I think what a lot of us forget is that we're living in the system of Babylon. So many things around us. But it's mind control. I mean, that's what Hollywood magic wand is. It's casting spells, TV, you know, it's programming, television programming. And these people, they know what they're doing. And it goes so much deeper than just Hollywood and music and things like that. This evil system, and the Bible talks about it all over the place, that we're not to be of the world. And compromising too much can lead down a bad road. Loving the world too much, it tells you to be not of the world. It says, come out of her, my people. And so I'm just going to read some passages where it does talk about that. I'm going to start with 1 John 2:15 through 17. And it says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. And I'm going to go to 1 John 3:1. Just, behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore the world knows us not, because it knew him not. I'm reading out of the King James Version. And I'm going to go to John chapter 15, verse 18 and 19. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. John chapter 16, verse 33. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation. But be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. We're to have tribulation in the world. The world doesn't like hearing about this stuff because it convicts them. And that leads me to another thought too, is we're supposed to overcome the world. Okay, 1 John, going back to 1 John 4:3, he's got a lot of good things to say about not being of the world and overcoming it. And so, chapter 4, verse 3, and every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God, and this is that spirit of Antichrist. Wherefore ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And that's one of my favorite passages. And that's really part of my testimony, is overcoming the world, not being of the world. And, you know, I saw it, because I saw it, it's how unfulfilling it is. The lust of the world, and the drugs and the partying and whatever. It's definitely not fulfilling. And that's where I want to go to another verse, which is John, where is that? John 10:10. Another favorite verse of mine, John 10:10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that ye might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. Possibly my favorite verse, actually. Mark chapter 8, verse 35 and 36. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save it. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his soul? James chapter 4, verse 4. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise. I think that verse always speaks to me, and we need to humble ourselves and realize that we don't know everything. There's so many lies in the world. And it says, if any man among you seems to be wise in this world, in the worldly things, let him become a fool. That means humble yourself, that then you might be wise. Solomon talks about it all the time in Proverbs, and especially Ecclesiastes, I think. So I think a verse that I just thought of that relates really well to that passage I just read in 1 Corinthians, talking about the wisdom of the world and things. Romans chapter 1, verse 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. And then skipping to verse 22, he says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. I think we just have to be careful in our worldly knowledge and things, because the world's full of lies. I mean, science and evolution and that kind of, and all that stuff, all these things to distract us from God. And that's, like I said, my testimony of just realizing the lies of this world, that you can get happiness out of this or that, or go to Hollywood or whatever. The lies of this world are everywhere. And me being in TV and video, I got to realize I didn't want us to have a career where I was either spreading some kind of lies, propaganda in the news or something like that. I mean, I know if right from the beginning, the Big Bang and evolution, that's the very starting point of science and things. That's your base. When you start your base, you found your base on lies, you're going to have a lot more lies. And that's why we have to have our foundation stone as Jesus Christ, the truth, the word, and the life. That's just the truth. So I don't know why. I mean, friendship with the world is enmity with God. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. So let him become a fool, then he can be wise. Don't be wise in this world. And that's what I'm trying to get at with this stuff is that we're too attached to this world and we believe so many lies. And that was what was my other opportunity in TV and video, would be to be in entertainment. That's worse than the lies, because that's filthy, just immorality and stuff. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to make a living compromising. Even when I was backsliding and things, I still knew that I didn't want to make a living off of lies or immorality. And you know, there's not a lot of other. I mean, I could have documentaries or things. There's still, but it kind of led me into the researching things out, being a journalist, being into the TV and video, being a storyteller and the desire for truth just led me into researching all kinds of things. And so, I'm just going to go to a couple more verses. Matthew chapter 13, verse 16. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. And in Revelation it says, he who hath an ear. I'm not going to turn there, but he who hath an ear, let him hear. And we need to pray and ask God for discernment. And that's, you know, I don't know why God led me into searching so much of this stuff out, looking into a lot of these things but when I saw how dark and how really there was a satanic agenda behind some of this music and Hollywood symbolism, like I showed in that video, I looked into more of that, and it's just amazing how much of the occult is there, even in the United Nations. I could maybe I'll pull up some documents and show how there's a long, deep, in-depth research to go into the United Nations, and within the United Nations is the used to be called the Lucifer Publishing Company. I think it's Lucius Trust now. And they publish books and things by Madame Blavatsky was this New Agey Luciferian type publishing group, and Theology Center was located right there within the United Nations headquarters, and they put out all kinds of New Age doctrine and different things that, you know, that they want to fulfill. And a good example would be Rockefeller. I'll put his quote up. Can't quote it right now because I don't have it in front of me. And another one, I'm sure some of the older people would remember, George Bush Sr. And he quoted, I wish I knew how many times. I believe it's dozens of times. He used the phrase New World Order.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order, because the global order is changing again. And the institutions and the rules that worked so well in the post-World War II era for decades, they need to be strengthened, and some have to be changed.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
Never before has a new world order had to be assembled from so many different perceptions or on so global a scale. Nor has any previous order had to combine the attributes of the historic balance of power system with global democratic opinion and the exploding technology of the contemporary period.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. It isn't just a crisis.
A new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law. Such is a world worthy of our struggle and worthy of our children's future.
So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, a new world is emerging. It is a new world order with significantly different and radically new challenges.
And the hope that each of us has to build a new world order.
And I strongly believe India will be a central actor in the new world order.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go
I'm
on.
sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets.
William Still, in his book, The New World Order, informs us that, according to Masonic sources, the most important mystery of secret societies is an ancient plan passed down for thousands of years by oral tradition for the establishment of a world government, a universal democracy, a new Atlantis. It is called the Great Work. It is called the Plan. It is called the Enterprise.
And some of these things you might not notice or not realize, because a lot of us don't know how much is in the occult, how much symbolism, how much this kind of stuff is behind the scenes in the government, in Hollywood. I mean, this is the system of Babylon, and I think we, as a church, have either missed it and it's really important to starting to see some of this right now with the times we're in, and with the agendas they're trying to put forth right now. Whatever this whole pandemic virus thing is, whether it came naturally, whether it came from the bat or the lab and was leaked, or if it was on purpose, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But there's an agenda, and another thing that they like to say is, don't let any crisis go to waste, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Another one that's actually in one of the degrees of Freemasonry is order out of chaos, and I'm going to put a link up to this one place that from the Rockefeller Foundation. I already quoted them earlier, and this is the Rockefeller report back in 2010. Scenarios for the future of technology and international development, and it outlines their goals and even uses the idea of a pandemic to accomplish these global goals that they wanted. And I'll just leave the link in the description, but hopefully. But they've been working on this. Bush 30 years ago talked about the New World Order. This country's being judged, whatever this virus thing is. I mean, we need to repent and come back together as a church and take this stuff seriously. I'm not saying that we're in the last times or that the Antichrist is gonna come tomorrow or something, but the signs are here. I mean, this stuff is being used to bring about a world system, economy, and different things. If you read that Rockefeller report and just look into that a little bit, you'd see that these plans are being put into place, and this pandemic, whatever it is being used to bring that about. And I think we need to wake up. We forget that we want to think that this is a godly country, and it used to be. I mean, it was founded on good things. I mean, I love America, and I'm not speaking against that, but it's been corrupted for a long time. I mean, I don't know how patient God is. I think his protection might be leaving us. I don't know, but as a country. But there's a lot of places that hate America. But I mean, we can look at the dollar bill. I'm going to put that up on the screen. That is not our God. It says, "In God we trust." That's that seal was not made by Christians. You can look into who wrote the seal. These are occultists, these are free, whatever. But if you look into that, it's not good people, satanic people that are into all these symbolisms and occultic type stuff. If you look at how Washington, D.C. is laid, and the streets and all that. But the dollar bill says, "In God we trust," but that I at the top of the pyramid, that's not my God. I don't know about you, but that's a very common Illuminati, if you want to call it that, but very common occultish symbol. That's been there on the seal of the United States since what, 1800s or something?
Yeah.
I forget. 100 years or so. So we got the dollar bill here that we all carry around. And yeah, right next to "In God We Trust," it's got this eye in the pyramid where it says "Annuit Coeptis Novus Ordo Seclorum." Then, has anybody thought to look at what that means? Annuit Coeptis means announcing the birth. Novus Ordo Seclorum, novice, means new, novus. Ordo is order. Seclorum, secular. New worldly order. This stuff has been planned for a long time. And not trying to fearmonger or anything like that. I think we just need to wake up that we're in the system of Babylon. We're surrounded by it, and we need to pray for God, for repentance in this country before we do lose what we have. I mean, we so quickly gave up our most basic freedoms. The freedom to socialize and talk to people face to face. The freedom to assemble as a church, what America was founded on, freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And I get that people are scared about this pandemic and things and whatnot, but what about, as a church, what about where was Hebrews?
Yeah, Hebrews.
Where was that? But what about in Hebrews 10:25? It says, "Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching." So much the more as ye see the day approaching. In these end times, we're supposed to meet together even more. And we've forsaken the assembling of ourselves. And I mean, I'm so glad some people are doing online things and whatever, but I think we need to be a little more creative and come back together as a church. Who knows how long this stuff's going to last, but this is a command, you know. It doesn't say not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together unless there's a bad disease or something. I mean, it says all over the verses I read earlier was that we're going to have persecution, we're going to have tribulation, we're going to have these things. Are we ready for it? If we tuck tail and hide this quickly, and I'm not saying that we need to be anarchists or go against the government. We can be creative in ways to still assemble, and I'm hoping a lot of us are talking to each other and encouraging each other and exhorting one another. And I know I haven't done my due diligence in this way. I got all discouraged and upset about this whole thing. But it's time we get back together as a church, however we can, home churches, even if it's a live chat thing, something. And we need to stop saying that stop being like the world, stop echoing what the media is saying, because like I just said, it's full of propaganda. I mean, we're taking our marching orders from the entertainment industry, which is full of Satanists and occult, and the media, which is all propaganda. We are fed so many lies. I think that's why we don't see what's going on, is because we've just been so full of lies that we can't even discern anything anymore. And as a church, we're supposed to be the watchmen's on the wall. We're supposed to be discerning the stuff. And that's what we're supposed to do. I mean, any pastors or things that are listening to me, you know this. And I don't see, we're supposed to have eyes to see, ears to hear. We're supposed to have discernment. We're supposed to be different from the world. But how do we not? We've been living in a country that's been killing its babies for over 40 years, since what's the 70s? Over 40 years. George Bush gave those dozens of times, talked about the New World Order. That was 30 years ago. I don't even want to get into 9/11, but this has been coming, little by little. Then gay marriage. I mean, I'm thankful for one of my pastors that wasn't afraid to say the truth back when the whole gay marriage thing happened. He said, we'd be almost insulting God to say, God bless America, or we can't really say that, because how can he bless us anymore? You know, we've been tempting God. He's been patient, and this pandemic, it's not the pandemic I'm worried about, it's what they're using it. The agendas, there's multiple agendas, I'm not going to get into that, but amen. Thank you, Jesus.